Good evening from London, wrestling fans. We're day out from it. That was maybe the worst intro I've done in history, but we are a day out from WWE King and Queen of the Ring. Yesterday was a lot of fun. Today it's the 5-year basically anniversary of the first AEW event. It's AEW Double or Nothing 2024, and I am hyped. There's 10 matches. There's a lot of matches announced, and we're going to go through them one by one and give our predictions for them all. I'm your host, Ben Allison, but joining me today, firstly, we have the co-host of the show, Mr. Clark Taylor. Clark, how are you?
I'm on show number 2 today, not to let everyone behind the curtain, but Sunday night spotlight is more like Sunday morning before the light, but that's neither here nor there. It was an absolute blast recording it. Shout out to Megan, Savannah, and Drizzy for sure. It was all time. Check that episode out later tonight. It'll be live on YouTube, I believe. And not only that, how about a weekend with 2 PLEs, pay-per-views, whatever you'd like to call them? Is there anything better as a wrestling fan than that? Back-to-back days? I mean, how about it? I'm just excited. Let's get into it, Ben.
Absolutely. No, I'm hyped. No, I mean, there really is nothing better than that indeed. I mean, it's a lot of content for us to get out, but it is a lot of fun bringing it to you guys. And of course, don't miss tonight's episode of Sunday Night Spotlight. It'll be before Double or Nothing. In fact, it'll be basically 2 hours from now. Once this show finishes, an hour from now. So make sure to check that out. But also joining us today, we have the head of Opinion Shoot Wrestling Republic, Anthony Ricciardi. How are you, Anthony?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing good. Did yesterday's show, which was a lot of fun, and now do predictions. So that should also be fun, especially since I cover Dynamite every week on Throwback. So it should be fun.
Absolutely. And last but not least, well, we have a man who, well, from my camera angle, doesn't appear to be here. Let's hope he turns up. We have Soul.
Blessed are EVPs, for today is a holy day, a day of all days. For we have been blessed with an AEW pay-per-view. Oh, thank you, Nicholas and Matthew, EVPs of All Elite Wrestling. We blessed it for you for blessing us with this pay-per-view. Amen. Oh, it's a beautiful day, lads, isn't it? It's a beautiful day. Beautiful days are coming around for the world of professional wrestling. I am happy to get into the show. So many great matches upon us. Blessed are EVPs and their Adidas pump-up Snickers. Blessed are EVPs. Blessed are EVPs.
Where's the red belt?
Snickers.
Yeah, I know.
Where's the combination?
On belt.
I know, really.
One. I really went out of my way to get that red one.
Not even the Mania one, really?
Not easy to get, dude.
Expensive casing, so nobody else can touch it. It's like one of these.
Fair
enough.
That's fair.
It's being looked after. But we've got a lot to get into, and let's just jump straight into it, shall we? Let's start with, well, the debut of Mercedes Mone in AEW. She'll be taking on Willow for the TBS Championship. Now, the internet is divided on this one. A lot of people think that despite it being Mercedes Mone's first AEW match, that she should lose to Willow because, well, let's face it, Willow is just an absolute superstar. But Clark, out the gates, I want to get your thoughts. Mone or Willow, who are you going for?
Believe it or not, I think Willow retains. I've got Willow Nightingale stealing one in the most babyface way possible. We saw that Gunther and Orton finish yesterday, a little bit controversial with the shoulder issue. Something like that. But not quite a shoulder issue or a foot on the rope or anything like that. Willow gets the job done, but there's more meat on the bone. There's more left to the story for a rematch. Ooh. But I do not think it's time to pull the trigger on Willow losing. And I think even as a babyface, If Willow wins clean with some sort of roll up, schoolboy, small package, whatever have you, pinning maneuver, we're all good to go in what will be an absolute classic. But I do not think this story's over because Willow has been too dang good opposite Mercedes to have Mercedes go over in this first match.
Yeah, I mean that is a great point, Clark. You know, she has been on an absolute run, Willow. But at the same time, it is Mercedes Mone, a big Mone signing for them. Anthony, what about you? Who do you reckon will walk out the victor of this one?
I mean, Willow has outshined the high-priced free agent the entire run, but the problem is she is a high-priced free agent. And as much as I think Willow should win, I do think money talks, and Monet is going to end up walking out with the title. And unfortunately, Willow's probably going to be a transitional champion, which is a mistake.
Yeah, no, it certainly is a mistake. I do agree with you, Anthony, because I mean, well, Willow just is that good, isn't she? And it is disappointing if she loses it this quickly. But Soul, what about you? Willow or Monet, who will walk out as the TBS Women's Champion?
Sorry, clearing the throat there. This match is probably the most undecidable match for me. You know, the one I can't pick a winner on. All the other ones, I think I can call it very well, but this one I think is very 50-50. You have Mercedes, who is not only proven something to probably herself, but to the fans. You know, is she, someone who just thrived in WWE at the correct timing, and now when she's out of it, it was all just a fluke? Or will this be the time that she proves everyone, no, I am worth, my weight in gold. I am the best wrestler she says she is, and just kills it in the ring as she's done many times before, such as NXT takeovers. The thing is, with Willow winning and retaining the championship, I don't see it as a negative. Personally, if anything, I would do this like how the Elite returned at Full Gear against Death Triangle for Trios Championships. Have Mercedes lose the first one, and why not do a best of 3, or maybe not a best of 7, but do a best of 3 or 4. And that way you get time to add it up. Then you can do the next Dynamite, maybe have the rematch there, do it on Collision, maybe just do it before Forbidden Door. Mercedes could win it, and then Mercedes could face someone from Stardom, maybe, or somewhere else, whoever's going to be involved with Forbidden Door, such as that Stephanie, who's in CML, who's the New Japan Strong Women's Champion. That could be a bit of a fun story there. Somebody was meant to win it versus the current champion with Mercedes. I do think, though, if Mercedes does win it, there is one person who I would love to see take it off her and get, a really crowning moment. If anyone, Wembley Stadium, all in, Mercedes Mone versus a returning Jamie Hayter for the TBS Championship, and have, Haterade run wild and absolutely knock the block off Mone. We saw Hayter with the Women's Championship, was a good run until obviously injuries led to the Double or Nothing match, losing it to Toni Storm. Having a moment like Will Ospreay, a British lad with a British lass, getting the opportunity in Wembley, I think that would be just as amazing. And to face someone like Mone as well with Hayter, that's a fun bit of styles.
It absolutely is. You are bang on right there, Soul. It could be a lot of fun indeed. And I think it will be a lot of fun. And Jamie Hayter, I mean, that match would be something at Wembley Stadium, no doubt about it. We have a few comments here. Firstly, Bobby Petito, shout out Bobby.
Bobby B.
I hope you're doing great, Bobby. And he's saying that he'd love to see Mercedes Mone versus Alex Windsor in AEW one day. That's a good shout. Let's go. David Marge is saying this is an exciting pay-per-view and he can't wait for Malachi Black against Adam Copeland. We'll get into that later on. I'm hyped for that. Trust me on that one. But now let's move on to talk about. Well, you just mentioned Alex Windsor. If I'm not mistaken, Alex Windsor's married to Will Ospreay now, isn't she?
Not married. They're
not
partners.
married. They're together. They're together. Well, perfect transition there, because we are now moving on to talk We are now moving on to talk. I'm sorry, there's something going on with the camera angles today, guys. I do apologize about this, but yeah. So of course we've got Roderick Strong defending the International Championship against Will Ospreay. A lot of people were surprised when this was announced because I mean, a lot of people, including myself, presumed that the direction was going to be Will Ospreay against Swerve Strickland at All In. But will it happen with Will Ospreay as a double champion? That is the question. Clark, I want to know your thoughts.
I am really torn on this one because I think Roddy Strong's run has been actually fun as could be. We forget about the neck brace, all that stuff that led to this, where we're at now. But Will Ospreay dripping blood and cutting that promo this week. I got a feeling that the Billy Goat's going over here. I think we're getting more than one bruv, more than one belt. I've got Will Ospreay tonight. For some reason in my gut, I just feel like this is going to be probably match of the night. But Will goes over. I think, and I don't think that everyone's on the same page when it comes to that. It's not telegraphed in any way, but he makes the most sense against Roddy tonight, because I don't know what Roddy does if he retains against Ospreay. Then who's next, really? Right? Like, there's no then who's next after Ospreay. It's Will, and in the run he's been on, the dripping blood, he's ready, and that's what we're going to see tonight is Ospreay put on another clinic and go over. But Roddy can stand next to him and look really good. This is my early pick for match of the night.
Wow. I mean, listen, when Will Ospreay's involved, I mean, any time is a safe prediction that will be match of the night. I mean, I can only guess they have something planned for the main event scene, and that's why they're not putting Will Ospreay in it just yet, or at Wembley or whatever, because this was just so bizarre to me. Because you are right, Clark, he is 1000% ready for a championship in AEW. But like, I don't think he needs to be a mid-card champion. This guy is a star. He's so over already. So he's proven he can get over with American crowds. So the fact that they've just, put him in a mid-card championship feud really shocks me. But hey, if anybody can elevate the belt, pun intended, he can. So I mean, perhaps you are right, and I do agree with you. I'm also predicting Will Ospreay will become Billy one belt. Maybe Billy 2 belts soon. We'll have to wait.
That's the thing is AEW is proven, and I think the titles are different in AEW than they are in WWE, or at least they're intended to be. And we can get hung up on the mid card thing versus the top of the card thing. I think the TBS title on the women's side between Willow and Mercedes that we just talked about is main event worthy. That doesn't feel mid card. I do think we're living in a different world there, and to compare the two is a little unfair in some ways, because the mid-card titles in WWE are clearly mid-card titles. But in AEW, there's a little bit more, room for it, because I even think the TBS title, not to stick with that same belt, but Jade Cargill elevated that to feeling like it was the main women's title. And Cody Rhodes is the one who said it.
Can only
he
be
wanted
a
the
dual title.
He wanted the
otherwise.
Cody said it himself. He wanted the TNT title. There are no main event and mid card titles. He wanted the TNT title to be that big of a deal, and at times it's felt as such. At times it's not. There's been flops. There's been mistakes, but I do feel like winning any championship in AEW for Ospreay makes sense at this point, and they've proven with Kenny the Belt Collector that they do not mind you holding more than one title at once. So I don't think it rules out Will Ospreay from any sort of main event matches.
Maybe Will Ospreay will become my favorite wrestler of all time by unifying every single singles belt in AEW. Minus the TNT one. They can keep the TNT one.
Oh, that's funny.
All the others merge them together, right? You've only got one roster, whatever, one brand. You can only have one mid-card belt. And yes, it has to be a mid-card belt, because if you have 2 world titles, well, that makes no sense, does it? Unless it's like a brand split separating them. If they have a brand split, then hey. But I think it's just pointless titles. Everybody has a prize.
Stop trying to make AEW WWE like.
I brought out anti-mid-card, Ben. I love it, though, Ben. respect
I
it
hate
too.
mid card. I'm consistent with it too.
Ben
By the
hates
way.
the middle of the card.
Yeah, I do. I said the same thing before WWE did the brand split with them having the US and IC. I said it makes no sense. They had a brand split, then it makes sense. But I mean, anyway, I'm not gonna rant about that. David Marge is saying we deserve it. I do think we do deserve the match. It is going to be a banger. And Bobby Petito is saying that Will Ospreay will win, and maybe Ospreay's first opponent could be Kyle O'Reilly. I
like
would
that.
love to see that. Get those stars out, David Sheldon. But now let's move on, and let's move on to talk about, well, it's another championship, but it's the not TNT championship. It's the Trios championship, because we're going to be talking about, and it's not Soul, it's Anthony. We're going to be
I was about
talking
to say, I got really
about-
confused there. I was like, damn, did I miss where's my leather jacket? I'll get my switchblade on.
I mean,
To let
Ben,
everybody in with behind the scenes for a second. For some reason, on my end today, the camera layouts, which we usually do, have just like flipped. So that's why there's been a couple of production mistakes, unlike usual. It's different
good.
buttons. It's all over the place. I don't know what's happening. But I also don't know what's happening with the Bang Bang Gang in AEW, Anthony, because I pretty much hate everything they do. But hopefully Bang Bang Gang versus Death Triangle is going to be a fun one. But who will walk out with a unified Trios belt? Let me know your thoughts.
this is an interesting one because I do think it will be a pretty good match. I mean, the talent involved could pull off a decent match. The problem is, like continuing your previous segment, there's like 15 titles in AEW, and the value is not there. The Trios is the perfect example. It's merged the Ring of Honor 6-man, which no one cared about, with the Trios titles in AEW, which haven't had value in a long time. So it's like, yay, a unified title that no one cares about. That's the problem with this. But I do think it's going to be a solid match. And just in general, like, the less titles you have makes the ones you do have more valuable. And that's a problem with both companies, not just AEW, but AEW does seem to have a tendency, when in doubt, add a new title. It's a problem.
It absolutely is. I do agree with you. I mean, I do have a bit less of an issue with the Trios belts, purely because, I mean, at least it's, different stipulation. It's 3v3. At least it's not just another singles belt.
Mhm.
But my issue with this match is kind of just like, I mean, Anthony, I think both of us are fans of Jay White, and just this isn't the same Jay White we saw before.
No. This is not the Jay Way from Japan. I forgot to give my pick. I think Death Triangle is going to win it, though. But no, it's not the same Jay White, and that's probably the biggest tragedy of this, because saw his New Japan run, and you saw he had that talent. And I think what hurt him was he was put in this like goofy type gimmick. This is not the character. This isn't the Switchblade. They may call him the Switchblade. They may release an action figure with the Switchblade name. This isn't the Switchblade. The Switchblade was a heartless individual. This ain't that. What I honestly would do is Death Triangle wins. Jay White breaks away from Billy's kids and goes after Ospreay for the title. That's the smart move. That's how you rehabilitate Jay White.
I'd love that. I truly, truly would. I mean, I'm going to be honest. When they originally paired the Guns with him, I thought this could be interesting, because I'm down to see a more serious side of the Guns. But they've just still become a joke. And if they make Jay White a joke with them, it's a very, unfortunate situation. I hope you're right. I hope the Death Triangle win. But I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with the Bang Bang Gang, because, well, I don't think they're going to hot potato this titles, but I mean, who knows? I could be wrong, because there are so many titles, it's hard to keep up with them all, to your earlier point. But now let's move on, and let's move on to talk about Soul. I am going to bring you in this time. This is your segment, because we need to talk about, at least this isn't for a title, Orange Cassidy versus Trent Beretta. Now, of course, we saw the Best Friends breakup, the heartbreaking breakup. And we've seen Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta, have a feud since then. And I mean, this Trent gimmick, I've enjoyed it. I really, really have. I've liked seeing the darker side to Trent. I just don't like how they've kept his Titantron the same. But I do reckon that OC, Mr. Orange Cassidy, will be taking the W tonight. Do you agree so?
See, the problem with that is we had this matchup recently on Dynamite with OC versus Trent. To do it again so quickly, I'm a bit hesitant on. Honestly, I would have switched this with a match from the buy-in with Thunder Rosa and Deonna Purrazzo. Main reason is Deonna and Thunder have a more built-up short-term story, while Orange Cassidy and Trent have the bigger long-term story. I'm it's fine at the end of the day. It is what it is. But I'm happy to see these two. I think Orange Cassidy really is one of the best workmen in AEW. The guy's always been very consistent, can do a really funny style, like with the Minosa match with Jericho, can be very serious, like his first international title run as well. Here's what I would like to see from this. I would love to see Trent win it tonight. Get a win on a big pay-per-view, because obviously it's 5-year anniversary from the first Double or Nothing back in 2019. Have Trent get that win. Then I would do further down the line at Forbidden Door, I would love to see a 4-way for the Never Openweight Championship on Forbidden Door. Obviously, that's held by Shingo Takagi at the moment. Have that with Trent, OC, and maybe someone else from New Japan, maybe Shota Umino. Have that and have Trent win the Never Openweight Championship. We've seen New Japan has no problems putting belts on AEW guys, and they've been killing it so far. Obviously, one of them being in an eliminator match tonight as well with Moxley. To have that moment for Trent, I think would be a very big establishing moment. And obviously, I think we are going to see him go with Don Callis and his little family of guys. Ospreay, I think, will be very parted away from that. And I think that's a story we are getting from that as well. I could see Don Callis screwing him in his international title match as well tonight with Roddy. And I think Trent could really use the Don Callis machine behind him. And to go off a win off tonight of one of AEW's biggest stars in OC, then going Forbidden Door to win a pretty well established New Japan belt, I think that things are looking very very bright for Mr. Beretta.
Yeah, I mean, Trent does have history in New Japan Pro Wrestling, so that is certainly possible. The only issue that I'd have with Trent in the Don Callis family is that I feel like he'd be a bit overshadowed by some of the other talents, because I feel like that's happened to a few different talents now. I think they have a strong talent pool, and I just would kind of like to see this Trent gimmick kind of be, a bit of a loner, a little bit of a, he's lost his friends.
I can see where you would go from that, and it could be interesting, but in the moment the Don Callis family is really running on a bit of fumes. Yes, they've got Takeshita, who's an amazing individual in himself. They've got Kyle Fletcher with Ring of Honor Television Championship, but obviously Hobbs is out at the moment, and we don't know how long Hobbs is going to be. Think about it, you could have Trent, Kyle, and Takeshita, maybe even just like as a wee little trios match to go against. If Death Triangle does win, that would be a little fun trio match to have as well. Could lend also further descent for the Don Callis family to leave Kyle to break off, because then when Mark Davis returns, Ospreay, you get United Empire and Will Ospreay, which has been an established trio for the longest time in New Japan as well. And I think, Trent, with best friends gone, and obviously he's not going to do anything with OC, have him go in the Don Callis family. And, somebody who whispered sweet whispers into, which we don't know what he said yet, obviously to Chris Statlander, is Chris going to be involved in the matches tonight as well, and, become even better friends with Trent and join the Don Callis family? I mean, there's a lot of layers to this. There's a lot of very good layers for where this match could go.
Have we considered what Sue thinks of all of this?
I know,
Sue has to be.
No, Sue's going to come out and run over Orange
stitches.
Cassidy. She's going to run over Orange Cassidy with a van. That's going to be the ultimate Sue heel turn. She's going to run over Orange Cassidy, power drift through the brake shaft, and just ram right into him. And Drew and Sue's going to have the whole Don Callis family. They're going to be in the van, popping up the side doors, alcohol beverages in hands, and just going way as they drive off into the Vegas Strip.
Is this the Vince Russo booking of AEW?
I could see that happening though. That's the worrying part about that.
Well, entertainment boys.
But I mean, we were saying this the other day. AEW is becoming more like WWE, and WWE is becoming more like AEW in terms of more entertainment and more sports like. But it'll be interesting to see that. One is for sure. And you are right, Saul. There is quite a few things to keep an eye on tonight, such as Chris Statlander, Trent, all of these people. This could be the season of turns in AEW. Yeah. It really, really could be. But now moving on, let's move on to the next. Actually, before we move on to the next match, We have a comment here from Bobby Petito saying, do you guys think we'll see Rocky Romero show up tonight on AEW Double or Nothing? I mean, listen, let's see if Rocky's loyal. If he is, he'll help OC take out Trent.
Yep.
That's what I think on the matter, but we'll have to wait and see. That is for sure. But now let's move on. Let's move on to the next topic, because Clark, I hope you have your textbook ready, because it's time for the learning tree. Chris Jericho, prepare to learn some stuff, all of you young fans. Chris Jericho, I mean, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, the least selfish talent
Yocho.
in AEW. I mean, he is just so, I mean, Clark, he doesn't take up, he takes up very little TV time. I'd like to see more TV time for Chris Jericho, actually. And he is going to be taking on Shibata, and also your favorite Hook. So how is the number one Hookaholic feeling about all of this?
So look, Shibata, legend, Hall of Famer. Jericho, Hall of Famer. The learning tree. We're all learning under it. We are also in the presence of the Hookster. Tonight we have the pleasure in a match to regain his not for the world championship, bleep the world championship, as to restore its honor. The Hookamaniacs will be running wild tonight. Chris Jericho, I'm talking to you. You don't mess with the Hookster. We are taking our vitamins, eating our chips, practicing our hip tosses all day long. And Hookamania will run wild tonight once again. That orange and gold belt will return to its rightful owner, the Hookster. And in the words of the Action Bronson, you don't even know me. You don't even see it. You haven't seen it yet. You haven't even seen the best of Hook yet. I'm hoping he brings the coif back when it comes to the hair tonight. I think that's a key play. It's a key factor in this match. But at the end of the day, it's going to be red rum, lights out, Hookster, FTW champion once again. And I'm here for it.
No, I mean, we all know Chris Jericho's just lost too many times on AEW pay-per-view, so I can't see him, losing once again, Jerk. Like, I really, really cannot. Chris Jericho is going to do something, which he hasn't done in, his entire career, and he's going to put himself over for once. He's gonna be a little bit selfish for the first time.
Finally win one. He's going to finally win the big one.
Exactly. He's never been selfish in his entire career. We've not seen enough from him in AEW. And yeah, we're going to learn a lot from him tonight, clearly. And I'm sure I'll be very entertained by the
big lesson
match itself. Yeah, exactly.
Bell to bell lesson.
I do reckon Jericho's going to retain, though. I reckon he's going to beat Shibata, and then they're going to continue the Hook and Jericho feud in singles action down the line. But now
the Hookster's not getting beat. I'll never pick against the Hookster.
You're in denial, absolute denial about the possibility that he could lose.
No chance.
But, Anthony, we earlier talked about too many titles in AEW. Well, I mean, just in case there weren't too many, they're also bringing in other companies' championships, because we're seeing an eliminator match, not an actual championship match, an eliminator match, which basically means that if they beat the champion, then they are the number one contender for the championship. I don't know why they just didn't say it was for the championship. I would have been fine with that, but it's Jon Moxley versus Takeshita, and I'm really excited for this one. I do think it could be a phenomenal match, but I 1000% have Moxley winning. Anthony, do you think differently?
Yeah, that's one of the things I agree with you. I've never liked the eliminator concept, and even when WWE did it, I don't know what they called it, contender matches or whatever they called it, beating the champion. Like, if the champion's going to go over, make it for the title. Like you said, they not only have plenty of titles of their own, they're importing one. Now for New Japan, I get it. You need somebody credible as your world champion, and Moxley has been the workhorse of AEW. And quite frankly, I don't know if New Japan really has anybody to put in that spot, because a lot of them have jump shipped to AEW now. So I get why they're doing this. To me, this should be done to elevate Takeshita, since it's not a title match. I would have Takeshita go over personally, but I don't know if they're going to do that. Because I think ultimately Moxley's going to probably lose it at a New Japan show to a New Japan talent. So, but I could easily see him taking a loss to Takeshita to set up a world title match. And ultimately Moxley will win. So I'm on the fence either way. Since honestly, I thought it was a title match until you said it was just an eliminator. I'm going to go Moxley just to be the safe bet.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. If they're gonna do an eliminator match, then the challenger should win, because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
But I think the point is they just like doing these, and I agree. I hated it when WWE were doing it. I think it was either just before the pandemic or during it. It was stupid when they were doing it, and it's stupid now. Also, I said on Allison Analysis this week that when I saw there was an eliminator match, right? I presumed, and it wasn't a title match when they did it on Dynamite this week. It was an eliminator match to become a number one contender. That's literally what it was, the triple threat. But when I heard there was a triple threat eliminator match, I presumed it was an elimination match, because surely that's what eliminator would hint at, that people are going to be eliminated.
You're talking about the 3-way for Jericho's belt?
Yeah.
Which essentially, like, it's kind of a joke. Like, and I know this was just covered, but like, honestly, Shibata was added into that match to lose the match, and Jericho's going to retain because they want to drag the story out.
Yeah.
For the unofficial title. Technically, it's not even an official title.
No, it's not. It's well, no, it is. It is. It's for the world. It's Jericho's gift to wrestling, Anthony. But no, I do.
Okay.
I do agree with you. But like, eliminator suggests elimination, and that's why on Dynamite when they did that triple threat number one contenders match, they called it an eliminator. They should have called it number one contenders. It confused me, and then everybody in the comments acted like I was the idiot. Like,
by the way, how exactly did that match help Brian Keith?
I didn't. Did it? They just got on TV. Maybe two people in the, well, not two. I mean, a few people, you know, will have learned
People's
his name.
time.
I guess. Yeah,
You've also two people at the same time. They're very efficient.
Well, it took two to beat him. You know, you can look glass half empty or glass half full.
Yeah, again, I'm sure you can tell that.
He was on TV.
Yeah, he was. He was. But ultimately, like, in all seriousness, I do think it's going to be a really good match.
Yeah.
But I think it has more cachet as a title match. But, you know, and I think it would stand out maybe a little bit more on a stack card of 10 matches, which, you know, that could arguably be excessive. But I would have made it a title match if you're having Moxley go over. If Takeshi's going over, I have no problem with it being an eliminator for him to get a title match.
Well, I still do, though, because at that point, then it's obvious in an eliminator match, the challenger will win every time.
Not necessarily. Not with AEW.
I hate eliminator matches.
I know it isn't, but like, I just don't like it. Call it, just either do it for the title or
no.
If you beat the champion, you should get the belt every time. I'm not trying to jump in, but like,
no, I agree. I agree.
If you beat the champ, you're the champ.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah.
If you do this once in a while, I'm fine with it. But like, AEW does these eliminators a lot. Just make it a title match. Like, what's
we were getting the same thing with WWE for years.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
Knock it off.
Knock it off. I agree with you. I said I didn't like the contender matches.
That's why it's so frustrating. It doesn't make any sense. What does it even mean?
It's a way to get two matches out of one, essentially, if they do it that way.
Although you could just bring back the rematch clause, because you know even that's better than this.
No, absolutely.
We got Bobby Petito saying it's nice to see Takeshita have a match against Jon Moxley. I do agree. In all seriousness, the contender, eliminator, whatever word they want to use, phrase aside, this match is going to be a banger, and I am really, really excited for it. We have Melissa in the chat. Shout out to Melissa. I can't show that comment,
but it's hilarious.
Very nice.
Shout out Melissa. All love Melissa.
But let's now move on, because Soul, I'm going to need to bring you in, because we are going to need to talk about the AEW Women's Championship. Toni Storm versus Serena Deeb. This feud, I've said it, I feel like it's not been the focal point. It's almost been, the Saraya and Harley Cameron versus Mariah May and Toni Storm. That's almost been the bigger deal the last few weeks on Dynamite. rather than Toni Storm, Serena Deeb. But even still, I think if given time, this match could be a lot of fun indeed. Will it be given time? That remains to be seen. But I am predicting Toni Storm retains. What is your call, Soul?
Because obviously it's Timeless Toni Storm. I think we need to look at the bigger picture here with Timeless Toni Storm. I think her whole character arc from becoming timeless to then, being lost to time will truly be one of nepotism. Now, what I mean by that is we've seen her always, fascinated about herself and, going to her opponents and say, you couldn't be like me, and picking upon them personally and breaking them down. She then brought in Mariah May. Mariah May was, came in and said she was always a fan of Toni, trying to get an allure off of her. And then really, she only ever got that allure when she basically cosplayed as past Toni and was accepted by Timeless because, you love yourself, you love yourself always. And I think with Deeb is, a stepping stone to the eventual grand crescendo of this whole story. Now, of course, I'll talk about this match at Double or Nothing. I think it will be really great. I think with anything, I think Deeb will bring a more technical style for Toni. We've seen the hard-hitting side with Thunder Rosa, and we've seen some great matches, obviously, in the past. I hopefully think we will get a good amount of time from this to let Deeb show more technical style. But obviously, going back to the whole Timeless story, it really is the whole entire story of, building yourself and building your own dream creation to have that creation rebel against you. Sort of like Frankenstein's monster. I think at Forbidden Door, we're going to see Mina Shirakawa, who was Mariah May's group in Stardom, will be the Forbidden Door match against Timeless. Timeless is going to obviously beat her, and I think it will be very close. It will probably be one of the closest matches Timeless had in her defense. She'll beat down Mina, beat her down. Mariah May's then going to show up and, tell her to stop and all that. Timeless is going to react like, oh, I thought you were me. I thought you were the next version of me, but I've seen cracks in your forte. You are not like me, and, breaks her down. Maybe we could have something like she takes away the theme, takes away the gear, gives her, no entrance music, and just has her pop out to then have, kind of like how Bray Wyatt had Daniel Bryan in the WWE with, like, when he joined the Wyatt family, had, like, the whole pillowcase on and stuff. It was pretty much a pillowcase, stripped them down to the bare bones. And then we're going to have Mariah May actually eventually stand up for herself, bring back her theme, her identity, destroys the past Toni gear. Because, like, I know I've harped in about All In a lot, right? But it's the stadium show. It's the big stadium show abroad. You're going to put on a lot of great stuff for it. Mariah May versus Timeless Toni Storm, and have Mariah May win that championship. Mariah May's been killing it in singles action. She had the match against Layla Hirsch in Collision, which was great. I think it will be a really true passing of the torch. Timeless giving it to Mariah May, taking off her, will allow Mariah to gain her own identity, burning off the passage of the old Toni. Where you go with Timeless Toni Storm, you could usually do an unravel gimmick, stuff like that, try to pass it up, or you could be, an acceptance of, I was this monster, but now I'm going back to the version of me that I truly accepted, which was, the old Toni Storm gimmick.
Yeah, I really like that. I really, really do. And I think Mariah May, Toni Storm, like you said, All In, that could be a lot of fun indeed. It makes sense to do it there too, because Mariah May is obviously from London. I mean, I think she would, prefer to do it in a stadium where Tottenham haven't played, but still, she's a fellow Arsenal fan just like myself. Shout out to Mariah May. But I think that kind of says all, we need to say about this match. The fact that you've just given, take on it. And like 2% of it was actually about the match tonight. That's how badly this match has been built. Serena Deeb.
It's not badly though. It's like you look at Roman's match. How many Roman matches did we have that was just a stepping stone to the bigger grand story?
Every single one was better built than this. Like every single one had more of a story. You are right in terms of predictability. You're right about that. But there was better builds for every single one.
At least Toni was there to actually interact with her opponent. Didn't have Heyman do it from behind the shadow. It's serving its purpose. It's serving its purpose in the grander story. It will, when we get the whole compilation of Timeless Toni Storm versus Mariah May, it will be a great part of building up to what eventually will be Mariah May's crowning moment. Deeb is a great wrestler. She absolutely is a great wrestler as well. But, I know you have your age thing with WWE as well, but obviously you need to look about the new stars that are going to be 10 years down the line on posters. Deeb is amazing. I would love for her to get a moment to have the AEW World Championship, but there's a lot more people in the wing that need that belt.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Deeb will do great at producer, training, and all that as well, behind the scenes for AEW as well. I hope she just gets a good shining moment out of this match, Tony.
No, I completely agree with you there, but like still they could have done a better like actual story, right? Because you can say all this about a long-term story, you can have a great long-term story, but if the short term in the moment isn't entertaining,
if you want a story, go read a book. Read a book. Read Lord of the Rings. It's a pretty good story.
No, that's what wrestling's about. Wrestling is about storytelling.
Wrestling is
like, that
wrestling.
is fundamentally
I
what
want to see
wrestling
cool
is about.
moves and stuff. Stories are cool as well, but I kind of like to watch AEW for cool, sick moves.
I mean, yeah, but that's you can have that within the story.
Next segment.
I mean, I think Undertaker said it best actually, right? When he said, "You can do all these cool moves and they're cool, right? But you'll forget about it the next week, or you'll forget about it the next month because you've seen more cool moves and you've forgotten. But if there's a good story,
cool. Undertaker, the guy who stayed too past his prime. Cool. Yeah, that's what that guy I want to hear about.
And the guy who's probably one of, if not the biggest star in the history of the business. But right,
not
but
if you
do, you know, if you do, you know, cool moves, people remember it for like a week, maybe a month if they're really cool, but then they'll forget. If you have a cool story and a cool reason to do these awesome and insane moments and insane moves, like jumping off Hell in a Cell or going through it, then people will remember it for decades, and they'll remember it partly because of the moment, but also partly because of the story and how it meant so much in that moment. And I thought when Undertaker said that, I thought it was a brilliant point, because I agree personally, 110%. I can see you don't, Soul, but we'll leave that one at that. Clark, talking about big moments, I think we're going to see a few big moments tonight in this match, the TNT Championship match at Double or Nothing, where Adam Copeland will defend against Malachi Black. We saw Malachi Black covered in the blood this week on Dynamite in what was just one of the craziest visuals in AEW history, and I am hyped for this. Barbed wire steel cage. What's your prediction?
Yeah, like how do you make a steel cage match gnarlier? I don't know. You add some barbed wire and then you preview the blood. And honestly, he was covered. They used gallons. That's one of the best stunts I've ever seen pulled in pro wrestling. Like we've seen the blood botch in WCW that was just pure comedy, like absolutely hysterical in every way. We've seen other bloodbaths, various slimes. I don't know. I grew up watching Nick at Night, and they were doing that on the All Out show. They're sliming people. And like, you know, so this stuff goes way back, right? But one of the best I've ever seen, there will be blood tonight. And that's no pun intended on the movie or whatever, but there will be blood when it comes to this barbed wire match. I'm fired up about it. And you might think I'm going to pick Adam Copeland. You might think I'm going to pick him to retain, but I think, and I'm going to make an MMA reference here really quickly. If you've never seen Junior Dos Santos heel kick, Google it, because it looks just like the blackout that's going to put Adam Copeland's lights out tonight. And we will have a brand new TNT champion, Malachi Black. He finally gets his flowers because Copeland has work elsewhere in AEW. It makes the most sense to me across the board. And it's going to be one of the best. I believe they're calling it the blackout at this point, or I'm not sure what they're calling his spinning heel kick. It's a spinning heel kick to me, the MMA guy. Black masses, that's what they called it in the WWE, but whatever it is, it'll be the most violent one yet. And the visual is going to be money. And then the lights will go out and he'll be gone. And it'll be great. And I am super, super stoked for this match. It's great booking. It's two performers I never in a million years had on my bingo card for a big time title match at this point in their careers. But we got it. And not only do we have it in a steel cage wrapped in barbed wire. I'm hyped about it, even if Copeland goes over.
Yeah.
This is one that I'm like, sign me up every day of my life.
I'm going to be honest, Joe. I'm really surprised the amount of people who are thinking Malachi Black's going to win.
I
I thought
Gets
this
it
match
done.
was actually quite predictable that Copeland was going to win, but now because of everybody saying Malachi Black, now I'm like, well, hey, it's clearly not predictable.
He's
But
gonna
what I
kick his
will,
head off, man.
I mean,
He's
I
gonna
love to
kick
see
his
it. I
head
really
off.
would. But even if this was predictable, I mean, listen, they've told a great story here, and there's going to be some entertaining moments in it, no doubt about it. Like you said, how can you make a steel cage more dangerous? You wrap it in barbed wire. It is going to be violent. It is going to be brutal, and it might be the match which I am looking forward to the most tonight. But talking about violence, talking about things which are going to be brutal tonight, we also have an anarchy in the arena match. We have got the Elite, the Young Bucks, Kazuchika Okada, and Jack Perry against Team AEW, Bryan Danielson, FTR, and Darby Allin. The anarchy in the arena matches, they are always chaotic. Year in, year out, they are always chaotic. Sometimes too much, sometimes just right. But this match tonight, I think, will be a lot of fun. But Anthony, who's your pick?
This is interesting because the Anarchy match is a signature AEW match. Generally, they're either really good or a cluster mess, and it can kind of go either way. This is a match that has a story behind it. Ben, I know you agree with me. Storytelling's the lifeblood of this business. It's what sells tickets. Paul Heyman said it best. He goes, when he books, it's 3 questions need to be answered. Who are these people? Why are they fighting? And why should I care in order to buy a ticket or buy the pay-per-view or whatever? This match kind of has that in the sense that they're fighting for the soul of AEW is the tagline, I guess. The only negative with this, I think, if you look at it like Team AEW as a whole, I don't really view those members, all of those members, as the true heart or the soul of AEW. I would think a Moxley would be in this. I know Omega's injured with his health issues, but like that's kind of what you look at. Looking at this match, I think it's going to be chaotic, which is exactly what you want in this type of match. Will be memorable. Probably there's definitely going to be spots. We know Darby will do something insane because Darby always does something insane. Ultimately, the team that should win this is the Elite because presumably you want this story to continue. Because if Team AEW wins, I don't really know where else you go from this because essentially that's getting the revenge on the Bucks. I mean, the logical choice is the heels go over. I mean, ultimately the babyfaces should win at the end, but the heels should totally win this match.
Yeah, I agree with you, Anthony. It feels like we're still in the early days of this, elite storyline, and we don't know how long Omega's going to be out for, but ideally, I'd like him to return, maybe Hangman Page to return.
Yeah,
and I mean maybe even keep Darby there because he's an OG as well. But
no,
have proper
Darby's right. Yeah.
OGs. Yeah, just a few OGs there to just to really end the feud in the end. Maybe in blood and guts, right? Maybe we wrap some barbed wire around that too. Who knows? But I think that's how you eventually end it, depending on how long Omega's recovery time is. But this is going to be a lot of fun, no doubt about it. And like you said, there is a lot of story here, and they built it well. But now let's move on to the main event: Swerve Strickland, Christian Cage, the AEW Championship. I mean, Anthony, I know you guys on Throwback Thursday often talk about how Swerve Strickland, since he's become champion, hasn't been positioned in the main event. Hopefully, this will be the main event of Double or Nothing because, in my eyes, it should either be the men's world title or the women's world title. One of the two has to have the main event, and the women's world title hasn't been built very well, unfortunately, going into this pay-per-view. But what has been built well, despite having a short build, is Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage, and I'm really excited for this match. Everything Christian Cage touches, it just turns to gold somehow, and him and Swerve together, it's been brilliant. But who will walk out the champion, Anthony?
I do think Swerve will walk out as champion. I think Christian was the right choice because he knows how to elevate people. He knows how to build things up. I don't think this will main event only because I think it's very difficult to follow Anarchy. Like I feel like it's a very hard match to follow. But I do think it's going to be a solid match, and I think Christian is the right person to help add more prestige to Swerve's reign. Swerve's reign is a big deal. It should be a big deal, but the booking hasn't exactly lended itself to it. In a lot of ways, it almost feels like an afterthought, and that shouldn't be the case because of how historic Swerve's win was and how great of a talent Swerve is. So I think Christian and Swerve could get a series out of this. I'm hoping this isn't a one and done. I think you can go long term with this and get really dark with this and getting more hardcore and getting that Swerve out of them, the same Swerve that hung Hangman from the chain. I think you could easily do that. And I think Christian's a nice person you can kind of carry the story out with. And if you wanted to throw Hangman into this, when he's done with Christian, you can go that direction and restart that up. And now it's over a title. I think you could do a lot with this, but I think Swerve's going over.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I hope this isn't, the end of it, because it's been so good so far, and it's only been a short feud. So hey, maybe they could. I mean, I'm not sure if they could run it to the next paper. Well, the next pay-per-view will be Forbidden Door. So I mean, who knows? Maybe they could do it at Forbidden Door, but that's not a crossover match. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But even if you want to end it on a Dynamite or something between now and all in, because there's a long gap between now and the actual next fully fledged AEW pay-per-view. So they do have time if they want to extend the feud, that is for sure. But Soul, what about you? I mean, how are you feeling heading into this one?
So quickly, I'll say I don't think Swerve and Christian are going to main event, simply because Anarchy in the Arena has a main event. I think the last three Double or Nothing since its inceptions. I mean, it pretty much just tears the whole thing down, and you kind of want to get out there quick. So having the guys tear down the ring is a bit of a plus in that situation. I think Swerve's going to take it home tonight. He's going to obviously walk out as champion. This has been a fun build, with Christian coming out and the whole picture of his Swerve's daughters, I believe, and rubbing his face in the blood. Going back to the Nick Wayne compound as well, where obviously Swerve attacked Nick Wayne and Christian treating it like, you disrespected my boy, my son. How could you do this, Swerve? And it's like, well, he's not really your son. You're just simping for his man. The boy comes in addition. But fair enough, Christian. I understand your rules and your play game. It's fair play to you. I think this could end obviously after Double or Nothing. It's Forbidden Door. I know usually they've done Blood or Guts, which is obviously a Dynamite special after Forbidden Door. Maybe move it up and you can have Christian and Swerve in a Texas Death Match if you really want to have this blow off in an explosive way. Go for it. But obviously we have the Dynamite after Double or Nothing, where obviously there's going to be a gauntlet for a contendership for the AEW World Championship at Forbidden Door. Now, obviously, there'll be AEW guys there. There'll probably be New Japan guys there. Heck, maybe even some CMLL guys there. But somebody I would love to see win this and get a shot at Swerve at Double or Nothing at Forbidden Door for the AEW World Championship. I want to see Gabe Kidd. I want to see Gabe Kidd, the New Japan Strong champion who beat Eddie Kingston. That guy is an amazing talker. Him and Swerve going into Forbidden Door, that would be something. That would be really fun. Just having those off the wall, explosive type promos going at one another into Forbidden Door. I think that's the way to do it.
I mean, that match, I think, would be absolutely terrific. The build for that match, I think, would be insane. I'm a big Gabe Kidd guy. I remember I first saw him years ago on the UK scene, before he even went to go train in New Japan. And he's improved so much, and he's worked so hard to get there. I'm not sure if on a pay-per-view where, you need to get fans to buy the pay-per-view, if he's a big enough name to be in a championship fight yet. And unfortunately, and I'm a big fan of him. But ultimately, you've got to get people to pay for these pay-per-views. You've got to get people to buy, you've got to get people to buy them. And I'm just not sure if he's a big enough draw to challenge for the AEW Championship yet, unfortunately. But
well, I mean, you don't know if somebody has that chance if you don't give it to them. If it doesn't work, then they're not ready. And if they're not ready, you give them a wee bit more time in the cooking.
But also, it's a bit of a big risk.
But who else would you do? I mean, what you're going to do, like,
Swerve's so many talents who they
Swerve's a face, so you want a dynamic of babyface and heel. You're going to do maybe Evil. We can have Evil against Swerve. Do you really want to see that?
But yeah, no, I
don't.
You
really want to see Evil versus Swerve, Mr. Allison. That's a no-go. I don't want
They
to see him
might
spray
do. They
paint.
might do.
We
Like,
already had
I
somebody
don't
spray
know,
paint
true.
AEW World Championship, and it was by a bad man. We're not having that again. So I think Gabe Kidd would be an absolute amazing opportunity to give a shot.
It would be an amazing opportunity, and I do agree with you. I think it'd be a great future. Hey, who knows? Maybe that is the move. And you are right, to be fair. New Japan just don't have many top heels right now. They really, really don't. But anyway, Clark, what about you? How are you feeling heading into the main? Well, I don't know if it's the main event or if it's not. To Soul's point, only once it didn't main event. Sorry, Anarchy in the Arena didn't main event, but the World Championship match, Swerve Strickland versus Christian Cage. Who do you reckon is going to win? I got there eventually.
I had to exhale there. I was ready to go. I honestly, personally believe, and I'm not trying to even be like an argumentative guy, but I actually do think this is the main event. This is the one you put on the marquee. As great as Anarchy is this year, it doesn't have the same steam it has in the past. I think it's important the Elite win that one. It's not about that though. And I think that's a match that doesn't necessarily need to end the show, as well as the rivalry's been laid out. Swerve and Christian, come on, man. This is money. This is where the money's at. Swerve Strickland is as over as anyone. And you have to be over for the internet to complain about where you're being placed on the card. No matter what. You have to be over for that to even be a possibility. You do. And that's how we got here. We can do right by all. Because Christian Cage on the other side of this rivalry has been excellent. We can do right by all. Put it in the main event. Make it the main event, make it feel like the main event, the video package to open it, to present it, get it right. Come on, AEW, I'm asking you. If you see this somehow, you're watching live, get it right, do it right. We can have Anarchy in the Arena elsewhere on the card. Swerve and Christian needs to be the main event. Swerve Strickland's going over. He's retaining his title. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a heck of a match. It's going to be a slugfest, all of the above, none of the below. This is going to be off the charts. It's in Vegas, and I'm a gambler. I would bet on this one is going to be absolutely excellent. It's Christian and it's Swerve, and they have been sublime over the last 18 months when it comes to professional wrestling and entertainment is concerned. So This should be the main event. If it's not, I'll eat crow for it. I don't care. But until proven wrong, this, in my eyes, needs to be the main event.
Yeah, no, I mean, in my eyes as well, I think Swerve Strickland deserves this to be the main event purely because everything else he's done with this championship hasn't been the main event, and that is just absolutely ludicrous to me about it. When he is, like you said, Clark, he is so over. That's why they put the belt on him.
Yes.
It's
skirt.
He swerves when he drives. But
Big pressure, baby.
But I'm excited for this one too. Like you said, they are two of the great storytellers in AEW right now. And to Anthony's point earlier, I'd like to see this feud go on a bit longer. To Soul's point, I mean, maybe we have Christian Cage win, lose tonight, but then win the Battle Royale on or whatever it is on Wednesday, the Casino Battle Royale, with help perhaps from the likes of Evil or a New Japan heel faction. Maybe they join forces with Christian Cage to help him win the Battle Royale. And that's how they get the Forbidden Door crossover.
I'm also wondering if Forbidden Door crossover wise, it doesn't necessarily have to be New Japan. Why not like Nick Nemeth? Why not like there's a lot of
haven't they?
Yes, but there's a lot of names out there, not necessarily in New Japan, that you might want to put on a billboard next to Swerve. When it comes to that,
I agree.
That pay-per-view. I liked Soul's idea though with Gabe Kidd. Like I'm just kind of spitballing and playing devil's advocate there. But like I really do like the Gabe Kidd idea. It doesn't necessarily to me at this point have to be New Japan. Forbidden Door could be anywhere.
All right, it's a good point. It is a good
Why
point.
not Zack Sabre Jr.?
Oh, that's not a bad shout. Zack Sabre. Oh, that you might have just got the one.
Why not?
Be Zack Sabre Jr. I think that could well have been. That's probably the name, Clark. I think you might have just got the nail on the head.
Yeah, like it could be anybody.
If it is Gabe Kidd, I reckon AEW going in for him, and that's their way of buttering him up. But anyway, guys, that does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. Please like, comment your predictions down below. Thank you to Clark. Thank you to Soul. Thank you to Anthony. I apologize for the tech issues today, guys. And I also apologize for the fact that my hay fever has played up through this entire show, but I was fine all day. It's the pollen account seems to skyrocket. My medicine wore off. Right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, and hopefully this pay-per-view is a bit of a banger. We'll see you guys. Peace.